ask you about that. The Indianapolis Star is reporting that a 10-year-old girl in Ohio who was 6 weeks and 3 days pregnant now has to travel across state lines to Indiana to receive an abortion. So I just, because this is a trigger law that was passed before you became governor, I wanted you to be clear. Will the state of South Dakota going forward force a 10-year-old in that very same situation to have a baby?
You know what I think is incredible, Dana, in this tragic story, because I heard about this last night. What's incredible is that nobody's talking about the pervert, horrible, deranged individual that raped a 10-year-old. And what are we doing about that?
I agree with you.
What are we doing about those individuals that do this to these
that is
children?
an important discussion to have.
You rape children, that's an issue that the Supreme Court has weighed in as well.
Listen, I totally understand that,
but what we can do for that little girl, I think we also need to be addressing those sick individuals that do this to our children.
I couldn't agree more. But our bodies are our bodies, and women are the ones who get pregnant. And in this case, it wasn't a woman; it was a girl. Should she have to have a child? A child. Should she have to have that baby?
Every single life is precious. This tragedy is horrific. I can't even imagine. I've never had anybody in my family or myself gone through anything like this. I can't even imagine. But in South Dakota, the law today is that the abortions are illegal except to save the life of the mother.
And you would be okay with that, a 10-year-old girl having to have a baby?
No, I'm never okay with that. In fact, that story will keep me up at night.
Let's be clear. Whether it keeps up or not is irrelevant. That is the governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem. And what she is saying is, yes, if you were a 10-year-old, you would have to give birth in her state. It'll keep her up at night, but she's not gonna do anything to change the law. And she doesn't really care. Let's be clear about that. She tried to change the subject by talking about the awful pervert adult who does a terrible thing to a 10-year-old, and then proceeds to confirm that she is an awful perverted adult who wants to do an additional terrible thing to that 10-year-old. 10-year-old's already been massively traumatized with the rape, but now Kristi Noem and other politicians are going to then further traumatize this individual by making them be forced by this state to give birth. Francesca, what do you think?
Oh, it's absolutely disgusting, and watch her squirm out of answering that question directly. And finally, she's like, basically, I mean, every child is a blessing from God, right? Even if the child is being had by a child, right? And you wonder, these are people who say they care about families. These are the people who say they care about kids. These are the people who feed into conspiracy theories about pedophilia. This could have been a pedophile, and yet you don't believe in that young girl's ability to abort the child of a pedophile? Get out of here. Don't ever talk about this ever again. You've relinquished your right.
You're talking about victimizing kids. This is institutionalized victimization, and they support it wholeheartedly.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.